All right. Well, hope everyone's doing all right. Featured readers tonight are Kristopher Biernat and Crystal Stone. I don't see Crystal is here yet. I didn't have anybody sign up for the open mic. And normally it would be Crystal reading, then Christopher, and then I was going to read some for the open mic. Due to the fact that seems to be a little hiccup here, I think I'll go ahead and um, read what I was going to read for the open mic, and then from there, we'll go to Christopher, and then that'll give Crystal a little bit more time to arrive, if that's okay with everybody. So yeah, basically this is the ninth installment of the I Think I Can't Speak for Everyone Here reading series. It's a reading series for writers, people who have written, are writing, or people who I think should be writing. Though poetry is my way of drawing a face on a face down God, this is a writer's space. So feel free to read vignettes, silences, singing, poems, excerpts from novels, whatever. It's your space to go ahead and read however you want. Featured readers can read however briefly or however long they want. Whatever they have the voice is what the space is here for. Whether reading or not, of course, you can turn your camera on or off to your comfort level. Please keep your audio off while people are reading. If you have anything to say that I'm not seeing, you can throw it in the chat, or you can definitely unmute and let me know. You can direct any message to me on the chat uh, to sign up for the open mic if you haven't already. Afterwards, if you have any questions, requests, or comments, you can send that to bluejawedsnake@gmail.com, which I will put in the chat right now. Okay, and with that, I will go ahead and I'll read some things I was going to read for the open mic, and then we'll get started with our featured readers. First thing I was going to read is a selection from Johannes Jorenson's collection Summer. It's from a section of the book called The World, which is like, I think like 30 pages long. But I'm just going to read the first page because I think it cut itself off fairly well. So again, this is from the section called The World from Johannes Jorenson's book Summer. This time I'm sick. I've been poisoned, but I win. I win, I win, I win. I win an afterlife. I win a stabbing. It's mine, the innocence, but I've lost it because of the wars against the body, or the war between skin and rabble, or the war against things I can't forget. Most of all, I can't forget the lilac hairband around my newborn daughter's head. So I win lilacs. Another one I was going to read is from Tom Snarsky's collection called Light Up Swan. This poem is called Caritas Gemini. It's in two parts. Part one: the dog sprinted full bore into the field and was gone forever from the present tense. He turned into a stack of love letters scribbled on postcards with addresses all over the world, but mostly in Europe, to be read by whoever found them. Actually, they were music boxes with nothing written on them at all, each one a shrine to claustrophobia and the cleverness needed to write music. Part two: my rheology is just a smooth pear I first saw under a prescriptive light in a nightclub full of people I loved, and none of whom had yet learned my name. They were all mauve without apology, so I dripped out the door and into the night, singing their songs in my cracking voice until I found a dirt path that led to a field. With the redundancy of color and with love, I ran into it headlong like a black hearse. It's basically all I had for for the open mic. And with that little introduction, we'll go ahead and get started. Our first reader tonight is Kristopher Biernat. Kristopher is a writer and artist from North Carolina. He is the author of The Silent Crucifixion from Between Shadows Press, Triskaidekaphilia from LJmcD Communications, and Orpheus Clock of Snow from Stone Skeleton Books. His work has appeared in the Evergreen Review, Plethora Magazine, Phantom Kangaroo, Dadakuku, and others. He is the publisher of Lemures Books and blogs at theskyisApoem.com. He lives in Chattanooga, Tennessee with his wife. He is in love. I basically came to Kristopher's writing via being in some of the same spaces. That led to some emails, sharing of work, and then I eventually published a poem of his in my defunct online journal, Isacoustic. Later, I came through his work through his collection, Silent Crucifixion, which I still think has one of the single best poems I've ever read in it, and it's only one line. Kristopher's writing it. I think it's like kind of run through with a worried loan of brevity that seems to have found a voice or two deep in a debtor's prison of a shy student. That's kind of how I would describe his work. I'm super happy for y'all to hear him read tonight, and I'll go ahead and give him the spotlight.
Thank you so much for having me, Bart. It's great to be here. I'm going to try and fight the nervousness best I can for us here. I just have a few poems that I'd like to read. The first of which is the title poem from The Silent Crucifixion. Some mist, a memory, a quiet light. Vision of you before you, like secrets hidden in the cell, is a photograph, invents its subject. With cosmic dust of, with base tears of, first life. The story of us dots into and out of time's infant piano fires, where a drought teaches a kiss about the rain, where barracudas fly, whistling along with grasshopper choirs, and where we bathe in early fur light, the fibers and flesh that illuminate our dreams and pour into our bodies. Our first heavy steps will always mirror the last. The shallow rust waters, sodium palms, toes curled in unparalleled thought, like a toothless bite taken from the moon and spit back into the nauseated sea. Only then, she whimpered. As mountains become mirrors, mushrooms will spill into our sacred sea. The trees will climb across one another, dripping ink into the folds of your blouse, eager to witness the spectacle of imaginary life. The anatomy of being, disguised as a stone. Here, flowers do not wilt, only scream up to heaven before falling again into the earth's quiet embrace. The grass is alive, sweating as it runs a gloved hand down through your soul and up your thighs. Your plasticine eyes are pockmarked with stars that have crashed around us, stars that whispered to glass clouds, aching for more. All things climb so that they may fall again into our chests and empty stomachs, to sleep in beds of static entwine, to rise once more, to climb once more, a shrapnel of stars, a tempest of bells, your heart feeding mine in a dance of light for the blind. I have found you in the womb of song, failing to light a cigarette through the mirror. I have found you leading a procession of insects into the sky, with your eyes covered and your hands bound. I have found you finding yourself at the bottom of a country well, looking up at the stars. And I have found you finding me at a loss for words, finally. And then a lot of the other poems here are poems that have been kind of scattered around online in one place or another. This one's called Piper, 1-page scale. Echo, echo, another echo, each shadow, death's dirty perfumes, unobtainable, a summons. Angel weep, matter destroyed, swallowed like atoms. Milk, Columbus's wrists, likewise paper, likewise rain. Echo each, shadow two. I think the nervousness is starting to wear off a little bit. So thank you so much for bearing with me here. This one's called Redundant Fire for Mina Loy. A wave soul with smoke caresses your thighs and leaves a laughter like a body at your feet. And somehow, dream scents are like redundant fire. God locked your hair in a stone cabinet as the Minotaur thread a needle, teaching you about doubt and longing. Rain painted the Dalmatians of youth a touching gray, and I want to breathe you as one would a candle or a carnivorous flower. Death, the sea's long-lost brother, borrowed the sky that held you down and buried us all in impermanent sand, warmed by the sun. Stones were borrowed and stones were skipped just down the road, just before Eden's construction began, and the ship abandoned the shore. Sing Song Sang. Continuing stones, counting in the sun, the mushrooms of haunted light. Angels burrow in fallen lungs, floating in the firmament. Every day we climb into the dreams of Lazarus and his army of creatures, and every day we choose to forget. Does song exist in a vacuum, and a death smile compounded? All right, Violent Beds. Dead paper hands, grasping language, etching thought, faithless, frozen sunshine, using the whimper of the antelope to pray for the soul of a lion. A titan sits, eating stone to lighten Alice's load. Wick gown. Sooner tongue of paper summer, lurid with a concern for sprawling and neglected curse. Silk silver and backwards, the sea blushing at the moon's beauty, a laughing, indivisible, like a banality of a blind supper. And then lastly, if I may, I'd like to do something a little bit different. I got the blessing of this fantastic artist from Los Angeles named Heather Lowe. I'll go ahead and drop her Instagram right down in the chat here. There we are. She's a fantastic, fantastic artist. And years ago, I came to her partner's work. He was a poet named Christopher Mulrooney. He passed away just over 9 years ago, actually. And I've been revisiting quite a bit of his work, and I'd like to read a bit from his collection, Toy Balloons, from Another New Calligraphy. Bask. There, where are the stars in the clay cave and the granite ground for sheep to nibble against? The perfume of the pipe and the whiskers of the earth. There's writing for you, bold, picturesque, not the automatic chatter that comes with a printout receipt at the end. And this one, it's uncharacteristically long for Mulrooney in that it goes more than half a page, which is fantastic. Begins with a quote from Bret Hardy. Do you know why they've put us in that back room up in the attic, close against the sky, and made believe our nursery's a cloakroom? Do you know why? It's called A Prayer to the Gods. Medusa, or is it Venus, spake, or Hera, great Athena, who was wise, the sage most of the blessed? On the great heights, what will you consider this as inconsiderable, that must always be a shame to the immortals? Why a crime against the sun, in such a sea, its burning rays catch the sea in one gold poised cup, to quaff it as one drink taken, and never enough, that the great Lord so and so should bring forth wind upon this manner, and his cousin such another, such a mouse, that his vanguards should enforce the peace of his mind with such awful knavery, and that public uh, thoroughfares should claim it as much witness to this bafflement, worrisome and puzzle, great ones, oh, this is thick laid. Figure skating. The inanimate icicles gleam in the sunshine. There is the function of sunlight in winter to decorate the trappings that so transport us. The newfound, or pardon me, this one's called a fowl. The newfound mare, not lordly, stands but on giraffe legs, head swimmingly unsure, unsteady, by degrees already. I'd like to end with one of my favorite poems of his called Sampler. It is stitched accordingly in the bright surmise of the patterns weaving, just so much of sagacity, so much airs and graces. Thank you all so much for having me.
Thank you, Christopher. That was absolutely beautiful. I forgot to mention before my introduction of Christopher, I was also going to say he also is responsible for publishing my first non-self-published work ever, Infant Cinema. And to kind of speak to the work that Christopher does, or the awareness that he has, we have kind of overlapped in our findings and whatever of poets that are out there, and then Christopher does the work. I'm so glad you read some work from Christopher Maroney. I was on hellopoetry.com, which is like a void, like a crazy there's so many bad people on that site, and it's just kind of open, but every now and then you hit on something, and Christopher Maroney is someone that I met there, and really liked his work. So all these connections are kind of funny, how you bounce around and find things. But yeah, that was beautiful, Christopher. I really like may we all eventually come to being at a loss for words and making these things disappear. But I did see. I didn't know, is Crystal here? I see there's a couple people here with their names not on their things. I just wanted to make sure I'm not. All right, so Crystal's not here. Okay, I just wanted to make sure before I continued. I did want so normally after the featured readers read, I have a question um for each of them, um and so I'll pose this question to Christopher, but I will also answer the question first, and then ask Christopher for his answer. But question was basically what happens. I feel like sometimes when I'm writing, or especially in the moment now, I'm always kind of writing to disappear, or writing the next thing to make the last thing go away. And I've been trying to get away from writing for a very long time and haven't been able to do so. So my question was going to be like, what happens more often to you as a writer? Do you abandon poetry, or do you feel it abandons you more often? And my answer to that uh, would be I abandon it more often than it abandons me, because I try often um, to mean more, or to follow other things, and I'll be damned if I can't can't get away from it. But yeah, so anyway, you don't even have to answer the question directly if you just want to even speak on writing process or disappearance or like anything. I'll just give you the spotlight again. I know you thought you were done, but I'm gonna have you.
So I think that there's poetry in everything. There's a poetry of walking down the street, of just living your life, breathing, staring at the sky, all that. There's poetry in all that. Something that occurred to me the other day, when I was driving, I kept hitting a bunch of red lights, and then everyone's had days where they hit all green too. And I think poetry works in that way. Sometimes you have to hit all the red lights so that somebody else can hit all the green lights. And when it's not coming, when it's not a part of the air you breathe, then it's with somebody else. Somebody else is taking care of it, and it'll be back. It always comes back. And if it doesn't, then it doesn't, and that's beautiful too, because it's everywhere else around you, and as long as you can find it there, you're set. In terms of process, I wish I had one. I feel like that would make it easier. It's a lot of just individual lines that come and disappear altogether, and you find them 6 months later in a drawer, and you don't remember the headspace you were in when you wrote them, and anything you try to add to it will be a little disjointed, and ironing out all of those cracks is the real process of writing, I think, and something that I need to get much better at for sure.
Thanks for entertaining my off the cuff question. I absolutely agree as well. I think the struggle with image and shape is kind of ongoing, and um sometimes you thought you saw you thought you saw the God image or whatever, and then it turns into a different shape later. And I think that's all part of the process. I think not having a process is sometimes a process as well. So thanks for being in conversation um, with me tonight. And I didn't know, did anybody want to read for the open mic, or no, we're good to go? All right, cool. So yeah, so hey, thanks everyone for being here. I'll let I know it's like a Friday night and it's like 9:30. But again, Christopher, thanks so much for saying yes on such short notice. And I hope we continue to be in conversation with all of these things that sometimes even require, silence and whatnot. But yeah, thanks everyone for being here, and you know, uh be on the lookout. We got more coming up in August. And yeah, hey, love y'all. Have a good night.
Thanks, guys. Awesome.